All right, I believe I've pinpointed the exact moment that Ben Shapiro begins to realize on his show that Trump's tariff policy is actually just incoherent. Now, a lot of MAGA voters, MAGA pundits, people like Ben Shapiro have held out this naive hope that Trump is actually just negotiating. He's playing 4D underwater chess and he's out strategizing everybody, and we just can't see that. But no, Ben Shapiro is slowly starting to realize that Trump is serious about his tariffs, and that's because of a few things that Trump has said over the past week. I mean, let's start with this article that reads, Trump accidentally wrecks his own tariff spin in leaked call stunner. He was in a call with auto CEOs just after rolling out a 25% tariff on imported vehicles and parts, and he warned the car companies not to raise their prices, even though, due to his own policy, prices are about to spike. It's like, it's delusion. He imposes a tax, then he threatens the company affected by that tax if they dare pass it along to consumers. So our businessman president wants auto companies to take a loss quarter after quarter. It's not business acumen. This is like economic sabotage. But let me read this article and break down what Ben Shapiro said, because you guys will find it interesting. All that I ask is that you scroll down and hit the like button. This says, in a call with auto CEOs, the president warned them against raising prices. Isn't that an admission that his argument for tariffs is bogus? That's the other piece of this. Trump's entire tariff argument is that it raises revenue for the United States from other countries. No, that's not how it works. It raises revenue from American consumers after auto manufacturers or whatever other company is being affected has to raise prices. Faced with expert opinion predicting that his tariffs will jack up prices for American consumers, Trump has carefully considered a wealth of evidence surrounding the complex matter, and after extensive consultation has concluded that his tariffs are a bad idea after all. Now, obviously, they're joking. Just kidding. Actually, Trump has decided to take another course entirely. Stung by that expert opinion, he's now corruptly wielding executive power to warn the relevant companies that they better not raise prices after his tariffs go into effect, or else. And this comes from a Wall Street Journal report that says a private call with CEOs with all the nation's leading auto companies took a turn after the president warned them against hiking prices after his tariffs hit. Let me reiterate, the dude who's supposed to have business acumen is now panicking because he knows that tariffs will raise prices. This is direct panic, and don't mistake it for anything else. It's desperation. This is getting attention as another abuse of power, akin to his extortion of law firms. But it's notable for a different reason. It wrecks the spin that Trump has offered on tariffs on so many different levels, and it highlights the glaring absurdity of his economic agenda. While Trump's stated goal of tariffs is to rebuild the nation's industrial base and to raise revenue, or whatever he says, he's gunning to reverse policies by his predecessor in a way that would kill large numbers of manufacturing jobs. And off the back of this, we saw Wall Street tumble. The S&P 500 dropped every single day. It's dropping. And I always do want to point out the stock market isn't even the best economic indicator, but sometimes it is the most responsive. We can see how people are feeling in real time. And this is how people are feeling. A lot of red if you see this chart. Even if we go to the past month, I mean, ever since Trump took office, the stock market has been down. He took office when it was at all-time highs, where my cursor is right here. It was heading to all-time highs, January 21st, and then it hits all-time highs, and then his tariff policies are so unpredictable that businesses begin to kind of, warn consumers prices are going to go up, and then the stock market drops. Businesses thrive when there's a predictable environment around them because they need to know how much to allocate where, at what month, at what time. Trump is removing that predictability aspect, and we're seeing that in the markets. But let's break down what good old Ben Shapiro says. I know sometimes you guys don't like to listen to him, but I promise this is pretty interesting. So when it starts off, he's talking about the special election in Florida for Mike Waltz's seat, and he's saying that Republicans are kind of overstepping already.
The seat again is vacant because Mike Walz is now the national security advisor. One poll from St. Pete Polls suggests the race is within the margin of error, despite the fact that Trump won that race by 30 points. Now, again, I expect that Republicans will hold the seat. I do not think that Republicans are going to lose that seat. The fact that it's even competitive signals that any sort of overweening confidence that Republicans have is misguided. You got to act like every possession matters. You can't act like you're up 30 points when you're up 2 And
he's actually right. His critique of the Republican Party right now is spot on. The Republicans are overstepping. They're acting like they're up 30 points, and they're seeing that in special elections.
there's a couple minutes left in the ballgame. You can't do that. This is the reason that I think that what President Trump is doing with tariffs right now could be a massive mistake. Now, again, I've said 1,000 times, there are many good reasons to do tariffs. You can do tariffs because you want to protect a national security-laden industry. So there are certain parts that you need manufactured in the United States because in case of war, you don't want the supply chain broken, and then you can't manufacture the parts in the United States. So you need to have a subsidized domestic industry for those parts, for example. That's a good reason to have a protective tariff around a particular industry. You can use a tariff as a punishment for
None of this is what Trump's doing, by the way, but that's the point he's making.
another country. A country is doing something you don't like, so you use tariffs as a form of economic sanctions against that country. That's another good reason. You can use tariffs as a way of leveraging down other tariffs. This is something that William McKinley famously attempted to do. So President Trump likes to see himself in the mold of President William McKinley, of course, was president in the late 19th century. McKinley's tariffs were designed in order to get other places to lower their tariffs. He openly said so. So if that's the agenda, other countries have higher tariffs on us than we have on them. And so the idea is that we are going to increase our tariffs as a lever to force them to lower their tariffs. That's just a piece of leveraging. I'm hopeful that President Trump is doing that. However, it seems more and more like President Trump is not doing that. Like
He still remains hopeful, but watch.
an actual ideological predilection for tariffs.
Yeah.
The reason I say that is because yesterday, President Trump announced 25% tariffs on all cars, quote, not made in the United States. This is a massive tariff. This is a very, very large and powerful tariff that President Trump is placing on the importation of automobiles. And that's going to affect American companies because an enormous number of American cars from American companies are actually finished in Mexico or Canada before they're shipped down into the United States.
Yep. By the way, Ben Shapiro is a smart dude. He's just not good faith. I've seen people call him like an absolute idiot. And there are moments, yes. I think of him as a smart dude who has no problem being bad faith for money.
It's very difficult to tell what is even American made anymore. I remember when I was growing up, there's a big focus on buying American. So my family always bought Ford, for example. And I remember over time, that taboo sort of went away. Why? Well, because it turns out that Honda was making like 3/4 of its car in the United States. And meanwhile, companies like Ford were making a bunch of their car abroad. There are just too many parts in the car. So how do you determine whether it's an American car or a not American car? The only company that really is unaffected by this is apparently Tesla, which is manufactured almost wholly in the United States at this point. The two companies, in fact.
Odd. Tesla is somehow coming out on top throughout all of this. Throughout all of Trump's incoherent economic policy, Tesla is going to remain unscathed, other than the fact that Canada might place retaliatory tariffs on Tesla products.
That are assembled most in the United States are Rivian, which is an electric car company that makes vehicles that are, in my opinion, too expensive.
So obviously Ben Shapiro isn't coming down and completely dismissing Trump, but it seems like he is realizing that Trump's tariff policy is incoherent and that Trump genuinely doesn't care about the economic damage that he causes. Now, this says what's critical is that this shows Trump knows why his tariffs will raise prices. That leaked phone call shows that they will raise prices, and he knows that. He knows they'll boost costs on those doing the importing and those making things with imported parts. That wrecks his claim that other countries pay the tariffs. Of course, he's been lying about that the entire time. I don't even know what would be worse. If he just genuinely didn't know what a tariff was, I think that would be worse. Or if he was lying to the face of the American people, as he always does, regarding anything, whether it's elections or whether it's COVID, whether it's anything. So yeah, I mean, the moral of the story is that it seems like Ben Shapiro is still somehow holding out hope. I mean, he said in the video that I just played, it seems like Trump actually is serious about the tariffs. It's like, yeah, dude, we realized this months ago. It's not some weird negotiation tactic. I mean, when he first started to be really obsessed with them, like a year back on the campaign trail, I was trying to read where he was going with it, if it was some sort of tactic. But we've all pretty quickly realized that Trump is just genuinely obsessed with tariffs. Ben Shapiro seems to be catching on pretty late. I'll leave it at that. Drop a like, subscribe. Love all of you. I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.